Sustainable nutrition. How to enjoy the foods you love whilst staying healthy. Hey team, and welcome to this week's episode of The Inspired Show. The show is dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself, physically as well as mentally. Before we delve into this week's episode, if you've not done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. That means you stay updated with every single episode that drops every single week. Smash a like on this video, which means we can reach more people and help more people. And don't forget to share it with somebody that may benefit them as well. Also down below is linked to all our social media pages where we post content every single day, helping people become the best version of themselves. And if you need that additional support, so is our exclusive community where we have all the tools needed to help you become the best version of yourself, from emotional eating tools, stress management tools, meal plans, workout support, and accountability. So this week's episode is all about sustainable nutrition, but most importantly, making it enjoyable. And this is a big thing for a lot of people because a lot of people are under the assumption that in order to lose weight, get into shape, they must be super strict on their diet. And it's something that's not very enjoyable, hence why they don't stick to it into the long term. But by the end of this episode, we're going to show you how to create a plan that is sustainable and enjoyable for you. And as always, as we're going through today's episode, if you've got any questions about anything we cover, please pop it into the comment section or feel free to reach out to me where I can run through things in a bit more detail with you as well. So first things first, we need to start looking at the 80-20 principle. This is a really great rule that we can apply to sustainable eating, and this is a tool that I've used myself personally and a tool that I use with all my clients as well. So what is the 80-20 rule? Well, the 80-20 rule is 80% of the time you're going to focus on more nutrient-dense foods, 20% of the time less nutrient-dense foods. So what does that look like in practicality? So when it comes to the 80-20 rule, 80% of the foods that you want to be consuming are the foods that provide us with health, energy, vitamins, minerals. These would include your foods such as your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, your nutritious fats, your proteins. 20% of the time are the foods that aren't that much nutrition dense, but they're very tasty. These are our fun foods. So your takeaways, your chocolates, your crisps. Now you're probably thinking, well, surely Luke, if I want to get into shape and lose weight, then I should be cutting things like that out. Now, yes, if you cut those things out, you're going to be reducing calories, but are you going to be sticking to it? Yes, you may stick to it for a short time, but long term, it's simply not going to be sustainable. So giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room makes it more enjoyable, more fun, and helps you stick to it a lot longer. Now you can apply this a few different ways. You could apply on a daily basis, you can apply it on a weekly basis, you can apply it on a monthly basis. How you apply it will ultimately depend on you as an individual and how you like to spread out the foods over the course of the day, the week, the month, so on and so forth. Now, some people might like to do it on a day-by-day basis, where they eat very nutrient-dense foods majority of the day, and they might allow themselves a little treat in the evening, a bar of chocolate, or some crisps, or whatever it may be. Some people might like to do it on a weekly basis, where they have their less nutritious foods maybe on a Saturday night, where they have a takeaway with the family and some nice dessert. So finding the right approach for you is super, super important. But remember, with this approach, flexibility is a big factor as well. You're not stuck to rigid rules of you have to have this and you have to have that. You've got that flexibility there for you, which can be a complete game changer as well. The second thing we want to think about is portion control. So portion control is super, super important. And this applies not only to the nutrient-dense foods, but also the less nutrient-dense foods. Now, when it comes to getting into shape, losing body fat, dropping weight, ultimately it will come down to a calorie deficit. Now, you could eat the healthiest foods in the world. If you're still over-consuming calories, you're not going to be losing weight. So getting a really good understanding of portion control is super, super important. Now, one way to help you build awareness around portion control is to track your calories for a short duration of time. Now, some of you guys might be doing this already, and hopefully this has brought some awareness to what portions actually look like. If you are tracking and you're not bringing awareness to what portion control actually look like, please be aware when you're tracking, like try and remind yourself of what certain portions look like. So for example, let's say you're having some cereal, okay? When you measure out your cereal, try and get a really good gauge of what a portion looks like. So when you eventually stop tracking, you'll have a good idea. The same goes for things like your chocolates, your crisps, understanding what portion sizes look like. Once you get into a good routine of understanding portion sizes, that can be a game changer for you. Now, as well as tracking your food, there's a few different ways you can look at portion control. You could use hands. So for example, you could look at a palmful of carbohydrates. You could look at a fistful of protein. You could look at a thumbful of fats. That's a really great way to gauge your portions without tracking your food. And you can also buy plates as well that allow you to portion out your foods in certain sections of the plates. And these can be bought online from places like Amazon, and they can be a really great way to help you manage portion control long term. So number 3, when it comes to building a sustainable nutrition plan, is variety. Variety is the spice of life. If you're eating the same foods week in, week out, you're gonna get bored. When you get bored, that's when you're more likely to go off track. So when applying the 80-20 rule, make sure you include some fun foods, but also look at the foods that you really like that maybe would normally fit into that 20% and ask yourself, like, how can you make them more nutrient dense? How can you move them from the 20% to the 80%? So let's take, for example, pizza and chips. Who doesn't love pizza and chips? Absolutely delicious. Now, people normally associate pizza and chips as an unhealthy food, and they would normally lump that into the 20%. But can we make it more nutrient dense? Can we shift it from the 20% more towards that 80%? Of course we can, but how do we do that? So a really good example of doing that is taking some pita breads or a Greek flatbread and then making your own pizza. Put some tomato puree down, chop up some vegetables very finely, peppers, onions, mushrooms, whatever vegetables you enjoy and you find palatable. Adding some lean sources of protein, whether that's some bacon medallions, some grilled chicken, some lean pork or lean beef, and then put in some reduced fat cheese on top of it, whack it in the oven, then get yourself some potatoes, chop them up, parboil them, bit of fry light, bit of seasoning, whack them in the air fryer. You've then got a very nutrient dense pizza and chips. You can even put a little side salad together to add even more nutrients to it. And that would go from the 20% to the 80%. And you can apply that to pretty much any meal, whether it's burger and chips, curry, spag bol, whatever it may be, okay? So ask yourself, how can I vary my diet to move a lot of the foods that would normally be in the 20% and shift those to the 80% to make it more enjoyable and more varied? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't have the real deal, having a cheeky Domino's or a cheeky takeaway every now and again, but that does fit into the 20% of things, okay? And that's super, super important. And the last thing when it comes to your journey and making a sustainable eating plan is being mindful. And mindfulness is super, super important when it comes to nutrition. So how can we become more mindful with regards to our eating? Well, the first thing that we want to be doing is slowing down the rate that we eat our food. A lot of us, myself included from time to time, we wolf down our foods. We don't give ourselves an opportunity to taste the foods, the textures, and actually enjoy the foods. Because when we slow things down and actually enjoy what we're eating, it enhances the experience. It enhances the enjoyment of food. But more importantly than that, it allows us to digest the food better and also understand when we're starting to feel full. Because your brain doesn't know when you're getting full straight away. It takes about 20 minutes from the signals to go from the stomach to the brain to start signaling that you're full. So slowing down your eating can be a game changer. And that will, most importantly, stop you from overeating. Now, as well as that, what it's also going to do is going to allow you to stay on track with your eating, avoid overeating, and enjoy the food a lot more. A really great way to help you with slowing down your eating is to try and eat without distractions. Because if we've got distractions going on, we can just end up mindlessly eating and rushing through our food. Halfway through your meal, pause. Take stock of how you're feeling. Are you feeling full? Are you feeling satisfied? Have you got room for more? These are really great ways to help you build that sustainable nutrition plan. And to finish off, remember, it's not about perfection. It's about being flexible. It's about having that wiggle room on your journey. And having this flexibility is super, super important. And it allows us to enjoy life. Hopefully you found these tips helpful in terms of creating a sustainable eating pattern. If you need more help with this in terms of putting it all together, nutrition plans, meal ideas, whatever it may be, make sure you check out exclusive communities below where we help clients do that week in, week out.